Hey YouTubers, Nightwing19 here. So this is going to be my episode 22 review for The Flash, Rogue Heir. So as always, I'm going to start with the recap, give you my thoughts on the episode, and write down to my top 5 moments. So starting with the recap, Cisco discovers that Wells has been supercharging his speed while he sits in his wheelchair, which is why he is so much faster than Barry. The particle accelerator is reactivated and the team realizes that Wells has been at Star Labs the entire time and he has repaired the accelerator. While investigating, Wells escapes, but the team is able to find and rescue Eddie, who is disillusioned after Wells showed him that Iris marries Barry in the future. Eddie later tells Iris what he knows of her future and ends their relationship. Worried that when the particle accelerator reaches full power, the metahumans imprisoned inside will be killed, the team decides to relocate them to an Argus prison on Liang-Yu. In order to set up a safe transport, Barry is forced to go to Leonard Snart for help. Snart agrees, but only after Barry erases Snart's criminal record and history from the CCPD database. Snart sabotages this transport and allows the metahumans to escape. Wells arrives back at the lab just as the accelerator fully charges. Barry, Firestorm, and Oliver all meet outside to fight Wells. After each tries battling Wells individually, they coordinate their efforts and Oliver finally stops him with a nano-injection that disables Wells' speed. So overall, I'm giving this episode a 9. This was another Rogue episode. The Rogues kind of get new members, Weather Wizard and Rainbow Raider. They both now owe Captain Cold a favor, so they can totally come back in another episode. This episode was like kind of trying to teach Barry a lesson about not trusting the villain. I kind of didn't understand why we got this episode. Like, you have Wells reactivating the particle accelerator, and since Team Flash has been throwing the bad guys in the pipeline, they had to explain what to do with the metahumans. It's like one of those things where the fans point out flaws in TV plots, so I guess the writers on the show didn't want the fans to question what happened to the metahumans with the particle accelerator on while they're still inside. It worked out for the episode, but I just didn't exactly feel comfortable with this episode. It distracted us from the main plot and drew us back to the real plot at the end. And speaking of the main plot, Wells reactivated the particle accelerator. I think what Wells is going to do with the accelerator is have it do what it should have done in the first place. There might be a twist along the way. Like, it works how it's supposed to work before, but allows him to go back to his time. Because remember, the device that Wells was building back in the previous episode, he said that that was his ticket home. So part of his plan is that he's going to use that device and the particle accelerator to get back home. So Eddie broke up with Iris in resulting to learning that she marries Barry in the future. This is just pushing him closer and closer to Zoom or Cobalt Blue, getting a lot of good evidence and grounds that Eddie will turn out to be either one of those villains, if not the big bad of Season 2. If he's going to be the big bad of Season 2, then I would prefer for him to become Zoom, just because he seems like a more worthy opponent for Barry in Season 2 rather than Cobalt Blue. Cobalt Blue is a cool character, but I feel like the show is pushing towards the direction of Zoom rather than Cobalt Blue. I think this season is going to close giving us a good idea of where Eddie is going to go in Season 2. And then throughout Season 2, the first half of Season 2, Eddie just slowly builds up to becoming Zoom. And then in the mid-season finale, he becomes Zoom. The mid-season finale is usually when the big bad is revealed, sometimes beforehand, but just expect to find out who the big bad is in the mid-season finale of Season 2. So, now onto Easter eggs. Barry mentioned that a pilot went missing from Ferris Airs. This was a big Easter egg to Hal Jordan, who probably went missing after joining the Green Lanterns in the context of the show. I don't think the show is ready to do space and aliens yet. They've got to people with superpowers, so maybe Season 3 or 4, they could introduce the idea that there are aliens in space. They could just leave that in the air, so to speak, because Hal Jordan is a really big character from the comics, and I seriously doubt that the DC execs will allow them to bring Hal Jordan on the show. Cisco finally called Lisa Snart Golden Glider. The Weather Wizard probably going to be a rogue, much like in the comics. And when they were trying to move the metahumans to Liang-Yu, I just had a Belle Rev feeling the entire episode. In the comics, Belle Rev is a prison where they house metahumans. They brought up the situation to Argus, so maybe they'll take that into consideration and make their own metahuman prison on Liang-Yu or elsewhere. Belle Rev was mentioned on Arrow, so maybe they could change the name for the Argus metahuman prison or ignore the name drop on Arrow and just call it Belle Rev. I think they'll ignore the name drop on Arrow just because Belle Rev is known for housing metahumans in the comics. The Amell cousins come on screen together in this episode. There was this tweet that Stephen Amell sent that was pretty funny. It was pretty convenient how Grant Gustin's eyes were looking at the text on the screen like they were actually there when they were filming. Wells had his reverse flash suit in his flash ring, and in the comics the flash ring is used for that exact purpose. It's just a matter of time until Barry uses the same tech for that. I'm looking at season 2. They can't just let the reverse flash do this and not let Barry do this as well. It's like a trademark, like how Oliver Queen's trademark in the comics are trick arrows, and they've been slowly building up to that. So now into my top 5 moments, starting with number 5. Iris finds out about Eddie proposing to her. Number 4. Eddie and Iris break up. Number 3. The metahumans break out. Captain Cold killed Deathbolt in this episode. I was expecting that there would be an explanation as to why he wasn't in Central City during the particle accelerator, but still had powers. My guess is that the particle accelerator explosion expanded beyond Central City that night and reached across the world. They will get into this when they want to. They don't just tease something like this and not get into it. This is like the hive for the Flash. Number 2. Captain Cold tricks Barry. This was such a great scene. Wentworth Miller, an exceptional actor, I've said this many times. It would have been boring if he actually kept his word. Like, it would have made his character a little weak when we're just getting to know him. I'm sure that there will come a time when Cold teams up with Barry and he doesn't double cross him. And my number 1 moment, Barry, Oliver, and Firestorm versus the Reverse Flash. This was such an epic fight. I love how everyone just came in this fight to fight Wells. This was like the closest we can get to Justice League on the TV, what with the fact that they're all members of the Justice League in the comics. Barry being the most prominent Justice Leaguer of them all, being a founding member and all. So that's it for this video, but what are your thoughts on this episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Leave me your thoughts down in the comments below, along with your thoughts on what's going to happen in the finale. And also, be sure to subscribe to catch my review for the finale. Also follow me on my social platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr, and my other channel, Jedi Knight 450, to stay updated. There are links down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.